Joining us now for World Brief and the review of some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Adefemi Akinsanya. Good morning, Adefemi.
Good morning, Dr. Rubin. Good morning, Vimbai. And good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, Femi.
Good. Let me tell you what is happening around the world. Now, we begin in Kenya, where at least 16 people have been killed. I wonder if I could be seen so I can present my stories.
Yeah.
All righty, if we can go to the top. We begin in Kenya, where at least 16 people have been killed and more than 400 others injured and some 60 arrested during violent nationwide protests held in honor of the 60 people killed during last year's anti-government demonstrations. Now, thousands waving Kenyan flags took to the streets where police fired tear gas, rubber bullets and used water cannons to disperse the crowds. Police were also seen beating protesters with sticks and batons as fires were lit on the streets of Nairobi's central business district. Now, police also barricaded major roads, turned away buses farther away from the city centre, and they also blocked off access to key buildings, including the parliament and the official residence of the president, William Ruto, with razor wire. Now, the Communications Authority of Kenya ordered TV and radio stations to stop live coverage of the protest, threatening those that fail to do so with regulatory action. The TV stations NTV, KTN, K24, and Kameme were later taken off air. Now, outrage has been growing in Kenya over the past few years due to corruption, unemployment, government excesses, and the rising cost of living. Now, Wednesday's protest did take place against the backdrop of the one-year anniversary of demonstrations last year, prompted by proposed tax increases in which dozens of people died and many more disappeared. Now, two incidents this month: the death of the teacher Albert Ojwang in police custody after reportedly criticizing a senior police official on social media, and the police shooting of the vendor Boniface Kariuki at close range during a protest over Ojwang's death have further inflamed public anger. Well, we move on to a very disturbing story now. Before we show the footage, viewer discretion is advised. A Belarusian tourist has been charged with attempted murder after violently attacking a 2-year-old refugee Afghan boy at Moscow's Sheremetyevo International Airport. Now, the attacker, identified as 31-year-old Vladimir Vitkov, was caught on CCTV footage in the arrivals hall looking around before suddenly grabbing the toddler by his legs and slamming him headfirst onto the hard airport floor. The boy, who had fled bombing in Iran with his parents, suffered a fractured skull and spinal injuries and was rushed to the hospital in critical condition. His mother was reportedly just meters away collecting his pushchair when the assault took place. Witnesses quickly intervened, stopping Vitkov, who admitted to being on drugs, and alerted authorities. The child is reportedly now in a stable condition with no signs of brain damage. Now, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, popularly known as NATO, has agreed to increase defense spending by 5% of GDP by 2035. Now, to be clear, that 5% will consist of 3.5% in core military spending and the rest in infrastructure, intelligence, cybersecurity, and other spending that allies can already match. Spain, however, as we discussed yesterday, said that it believes it can meet its NATO commitments by spending only 2.1% of its GDP on defense. Now, US President Donald Trump, who has long been a sharp critic of the low levels of defense spending, threatened to make Spain pay twice as much through trade sanctions, but his mood became more positive as NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte offered him sycophantic praise, saying that daddy sometimes has to use strong language. Now, that was a reference to Trump's foul-mouthed outburst about Iran and Israel earlier on in the week. Let's take a listen.
They're not going to be fighting each other. They've had it. They've had a big fight, like two kids in a schoolyard. You know, they fight like hell. You can't stop them. Let them fight for about 2-3 minutes, then it's easier to stop them.
And then Daddy has to sometimes use strong language.
You have to use strong language. Every once in a while, you have to use a certain word.
Well, finally, the director of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA, has backed President Trump's view that the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear sites did cause severe damage. John Ratcliffe says, according to credible sources, he's been informed that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed. The Trump administration had been pushing back against a leaked intelligence assessment that suggested U.S. attacks had only set back Iran's plans by a few months. Now, Iran's foreign ministry spokesman entered the debate to say its nuclear installations installations were badly damaged by US strikes. Meanwhile, the ceasefire between Israel and Iran seems to be holding. Donald Trump says he doesn't think they'll be going back at each other, and the United States and Iran are expected to hold talks next week. Those are your stories. I'll tell you your thoughts before we move on to papers.
I mean, isn't it sheer hypocrisy for Trump to try as much as possible to gain victory for what didn't happen? I gave concise clarity yesterday. The centrifuges, where are they? Even the Americans do not know. So you say you damage centrifuges? Where are they?
Well, Iran have also come out to say that their things have been severely damaged.
Really?
Perhaps because they would like a meeting next week.
You think Iran will
Maybe.
come out and tell you and say, oh, you didn't damage what we had.
So that you can come back again?
So you can come back again, right?
Maybe.
I mean, so when the joke is on a buffoon, it's out there in the world. And that's why you see the likes of Mark Rutte ensure that he continue with that psychopathic trend. Tell him what he wants to hear. That you
charm
sometimes
offensive.
have to use strong words. The president of the free world using the F word on TV because things didn't go his way after becoming an involved party in the same war. It was a three-way war. It was not only Iran and Israel. It was Iran, America, and Israel. So he called for a ceasefire and they violated him. And, Mark Rutte had to give him the words he wanted to hear. You see, it shows where the world has degenerated so much. But I'm not surprised. We've seen hegemons like this come and go in history. Let us face the facts. What are the facts of the matter? Trump is disturbed that his complete obliteration didn't happen. And there's a big media propaganda. And they've been able to bottle the CIA into it. I mean, it's what the head tells the CIA to do, they will do. Is it not the head that told the CIA to go and plan coup against Salvador Allende in Chile? In fact, they even went to, what's her name, Tulsi Gabbard also.
Yes.
And she's coming to say that, complete obliteration happened. Is this not the same American lying intelligence machine that said Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction and they use it as a pretext to enter? Why are we talking like we don't know what is going on in the world? And for Trump trying to twist NATO members, I'm happy Spain has stood up to him that you can't come and tell us what to do here. We will try to ramp up as regards defense spending, but if we don't have it, we don't have it. The next thing he threatens with trade. Some of his hawks are saying he understands leverage. No, bullying is not leverage. There's a clear difference. I think a lot of people do not understand, psychology of human interaction. In Kenya, things are tough for Ruto because Ruto keeps feeding fat with his cronies when people are suffering. I was in Kenya last year, and every taxi driver could tell me the worth of Ruto, where they are poor. Yeah. And they tried as much as possible to shut down television and everything. Guess what happened? People were watching it on YouTube. The television station also defied them by internet platforms.
Definitely.
Ruto has not solved the problem on ground. Last year, he said he had a consensus with the youth. What did he do? Did he get anything out of it? No, because he didn't still do what they wanted. Now it's back to the high-handedness in the government.
There we go. All right.
So it's a very sad one, what is happening.
Thank you, Rufai.
And for the kid, my heart goes out to the kid that was slammed on the ground. Yeah. I just remember the songs of Kobam Sasuko that let us have a world of ordinary people living life the way God wants us to. If we have a world of ordinary people, extraordinary things will happen to you and you. We just need love in the world, not hatred.
We do. Thank you, Rufai.
Absolutely. I'll focus on Kenya with that huge outing yesterday tagged Sirini numbers, which means the numbers are not a secret. And of course, that's the context of that is huge because beyond them saying that, we are being dismissed as young people, as people who are only keyboard warriors and we only speak on social media, we're proving to you that actually our numbers exist in person. I'm still waiting to see a collation of the exact number of people that came out, but those videos show that it was an immense outing. Another attribute of the numbers are not a secret is the fact that so many abductions, killings have been happening in the past year since the last protests that took place in June, which were initially around the tax increase, the proposed tax increase that would have just skyrocketed cost of living. Now, an interesting analysis that I found recently, because this is all in the public space. However, there's a group that are saying that obviously there would be pro-Ruto, pro-government groups that are saying that they feel that these protests in Kenya are part of a color revolution. Now, color revolutions originated in the Soviet era when protests and civil unrest was used as a way to institute regime change. Now, those in Kenya who are pro-government are saying that this is what they feel some sort of a Western-backed color revolution on the Ruto administration, because the West is trying to balance the amount of power and influence that China has within Kenya, which is significant. So I thought that was quite an interesting take. Well, whatever you want to call it, the truth is that there have been several color revolutions across the world. It's something that is used consistently by various people who want to instigate regime change. Whether it's the case in Kenya or not, of course, is something that stands to be analyzed. But I thought it was just an interesting take, because every other take, is there in the public space. So I always like to look for the underreported side of the story.
With you. Thank you, Bimbai.
Okay, very quickly. Let me take the issues one by one. Now, the NATO meeting 25-26, you have the Hague Summit Declaration, 5 paragraphs. The next meetings will take place in Turkey next year, 2026. After that, the next meeting will be in Albania. What are the major outcomes of that particular meeting? One, the commitment of NATO members, 32 of them, to Article 5. Article 5 of the NATO treaty talks about one for an injury to one is an injury to every member of NATO.
Yes.
And Mark Rutte was saying that we now have a stronger, a fairer, and a more lethal NATO. Now, the other issue is about defense spending. On the defense spending, we said yesterday that the commitment is to 5% of GDP by 2035. Now, 3 countries objected. Spain, which says it cannot do more than 2.3%, according to Prime Minister Sanchez. Belgium also objected. Slovakia also objected. But at the end of the day, the 3 of them took part in the dinner. The 3 of them also still signed the agreement with Prime Minister Sanchez saying, well, maybe it's possible by 2035. So from that perspective, it was a successful meeting. Now, there was a discussion about Israel and Iran, of course, and Trump was very happy. He was in a good mood because he was the one who has been pushing for this alignment, making sure that everybody contributes their own bit. Spain, that used to contribute 1.3% of GDP, is now moving to 2.3% of GDP. Canada did not complain. Canada used to contribute 1.4% of GDP. The United States used to contribute 3.5% of GDP. Now, they say it's a big success.
Yes.
So that's what happened. Trump met on the sidelines with Zelensky, but Russia was not, the condemnation of Russia was not part of that 5-paragraph communique. What the last meeting, they talked about Russia and condemned Russia.
Sure.
But Zelensky was there. He also had the opportunity to meet with Trump and to enjoy dinner. The king of, yes, he was at the dinner. He enjoyed dinner, and
all right,
there are other issues that you raised. As for the CIA, now the head of CIA, John Ratcliffe, what he has said, I don't see what is different in what he has said from what the chair of the Joint Chiefs of Defense Staff, King, had said originally.
Okay.
King said that there was damage, there was severe damage. Okay? Now it was Trump and Hegseth who were talking about obliteration. John Ratcliffe has not used the phrase obliteration. The only difference is that yesterday, Caroline Leavitt, 2 days ago, Caroline Leavitt, the spokesperson, was saying a low-level intelligence operative was the one who leaked information
to the press
and all that. Okay, what we now have is an official thing. But I said yesterday that this is early assessment, and that's what Ratcliffe is saying. That
Indeed.
there could still be more information, there could still be more revelations and all of that. No, so I don't see, at best, what John Ratcliffe has done is to make it more formal, but what he has said is not necessarily different from what the Pentagon or the DIA
Had
has
already
said.
said.
Now Kenya, because that's Africa. Now it's the Gen Z generation that is making the issue. On June 5, a man called Albert Ojwang, a blogger, was arrested by the police and he died in custody within 2 days. That created problems. There were protests on June 9.
Yes.
Now, June 25, which is the occasion of the protest against, or the commemoration of the protest in 2024 against Kenya Finance Bill. That's the main context of this story. So they wanted to commemorate it, but at the end of the day, 16 persons have been killed,
Yes.
400 persons have been injured,
All right.
61 persons have been arrested. And the nation, the Daily Nation this morning, is calling on President Ruto to address the anarchy.
Indeed.
Now, this is all about leadership. This is what
It
you
is.
get
Dr.
when you
Rubin?
impose punitive taxes on the
people.
people. And that's why we're saying Nigeria's 4 tax bills that President Tinubu is going to sign today. The test is in the implementation,
Absolutely.
as the taste of the pudding is in the eating.
Of course.
And that, taxation
Yes.
is about productivity. You can't go and use money on conspicuous consumption and you
Agreed.
think that you will tax
Let's take
the
the
people.
papers and then we'll come back to you to finish your comments because you've teetered into papers already. So let's take a look at the front page of This Day. This Day does, of course, report, just as Dr. Rubin was saying, with President Tinubu, who will be signing 4 groundbreaking tax reform bills into law today. Those 4 are the Nigeria Tax Bill, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, the Nigeria Revenue Service Bill, and the Joint Revenue Board Bill. All of these will be signed today. And when the new tax laws become operational, the presidency says that they are expected to significantly transform tax administration in the country, which will lead, they say, to increased revenue generation, improved business environment, and a boost in domestic and foreign investments. The New Telegraph, however, it leads with a crisis rocking the People's Democratic Party. It's deepening further as some members of the National Working Committee of the party rejected the decision of the acting national chairman, Ambassador Umar Damagum, to reinstate the embattled National Secretary, Senator Samuel Anyamu. Now, the Punch also leads with this PDP debacle. It's got Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde and his bloc have revolted, they say, while Damagum and Saraki, they want the return of Wike's ally. Now, the June 30th NEC meeting has been cancelled, and as we can see, it is becoming a bit messy, especially since the Daily Times reports that Anyamu says that NEC meeting is still on course. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens on the 30th of June. The Daily Independent says that tomatoes have again become a luxury food in Nigerian kitchens. In some markets, the price of a basket of tomatoes has shot up from 3,000 naira in March to over 35,000 naira right here in June. Now, the paper also goes on to say that the scarcity of tomatoes has become a recurring problem. Each year around this time, Nigeria finds itself in a seasonal tomato crisis due to production and consumption mismatches. And yet, year after year, as the paper says, no tangible long-term solutions have been put in place. The Guardian leads this morning with its feature on state governors facing public backlash for prioritizing multi-billion naira state house facelifts at the expense of essential services such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure, which the country is in dire need of, and especially if we want to turn the economy around. And the Daily Trust, it dedicates its front page to the 3-hour gunfire battle and clashes between police and bandits in Kwanandutse, which is in Mariga local government area of Niger State. It's about 120 kilometers northwest of state capital Minna. At least 20 soldiers were killed, as well as a reportedly significant amount of bandits. It's believed that the attackers rustled cows, burgled shops, and carted away with food items and valuables belonging to locals.
Okay, I would like to pay tribute to our valiant soldiers that died.
Yes.
Very sad one. And also, as regards those money spent on renovation, I want to ask the Oyo State government, why are you setting aside humongous amount for renovation of government house when I hear that the governor hardly even stays there in the first place?
Well, that's the question. That's the
Okay.
question. Well, thank
we,
you all.
We don't have time, but thank you very much.
Always a pleasure. See you
At least
tomorrow.
for bringing those very interesting international